Welcome to Coley Crown. I'm Shante.
And I'm Lori, and welcome to our Queendom special edition.
So it is graduation season, and we want to congratulate all of the graduates from kindergarten all the way up to college. So congratulations. And in the spirit of that theme, we're going to talk about college and our experiences. So we have a special guest who will introduce herself. And she went to a HBCU, while Lori and I went to a PWI, primarily white institution. So we're just gonna converse and talk about our experiences, why we chose those schools, things like that. So introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Tulani Murphy, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
So we'll start with you. What school did you go to, and why did you decide that school?
Okay, so after graduating high school, I went to Tuskegee University. Tuskegee University is in Tuskegee, Alabama. It used to be called Tuskegee Institute. It's very, very old and historic. Booker T. Washington actually founded the university. And yeah, that's the school I went to. TU.
Why TU?
Well, first, I had three cousins who preceded me into college who were also there, and I was the first girls of my dad's two. Yeah, it's 4 girls and 2 boys. I was the first one to leave home, and so he wanted me to go, if I was going to go leave home, which I definitely wanted to do. He felt more comfortable me being at a school with 3 older male cousins. Two. There's 3 all together, but only 2 went there. One was a senior and one was a sophomore when I started as a freshman. But my first choice actually was Howard University. Right. But Tuskegee ended up being the exact place that I needed to be for that time and that season of my life. So I'm glad that I eventually chose Tuskegee. I'm glad I was able to spend time with my cousins there. And just the community of a historically Black college was an experience that you can't get at any other school.
Well, we're going to get into that. But Ashante and I went to the University of Central Florida for our undergrad. And actually my master's too. And
my master's
too. But she went on to do bigger and better things.
I got a master's at TU.
It's all educated and stuff. So yeah, we went there. My reasoning, of course, to go to UCF was to run away from home as well. I was in the South Florida area, and I think that was the farthest that my mother was going to allow me to go, which is about 4 hours away. So I was like, I'll go there. And we did a campus tour, and I was like, I kind of like this. It was like, not too big, but also not like super, super small. So I thought it was a good medium, and they accepted me. So I
So for me, I grew up in Gainesville, where the University of Florida is. So all I knew about was like Gators, or FSU, Florida State University, the Seminoles, their biggest in-state rival. And I knew I wanted to get out of Gainesville. I did not want to go to UF. So I was looking at FSU, FAMU, and then I took a school field trip. We went to UCF, and I thought the campus was beautiful. I liked that it was very, like you said, it's not small, but everything was like in one place. Where like at UF, the campus is so big that you're crossing major highways to get to buildings and dorms and things like that. Where everything you see, you go into that main entrance, it's big old circles, everything is right there. So I love that. I love the fountain. UCF, if you ever look at any like brochures, anything, they always show this big water fountain, and it's known for Spirit Splash, our homecoming.
Did you ever go in that thing?
Heck no. Sorry. Heck no. But it's known for all these people that would get in the water and splash. No, I'm not getting that germ infested water. But I was always out there though, collecting shirts and all of that. So at the end, I decided I wanted to go to UCL, and I'm happy with my decision there. I've enjoyed it. I majored in health services administration in my undergrad, and then public administration is my master's degree. And what were your degrees at Tuskegee?
My bachelor's in chemistry and my master's was in food and nutritional science.
Cool.
What about you?
For my undergrad, I did radio, television, and psychology as a double major because it took 2 more classes. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And then my master's was in research administration.
All right, wait, let me go back because now I feel like I'm not smart enough. So my bachelor's was in health service administration, and then I had 3 minors in business, health information management, and health sciences. So, I know. So let's get into experiences of while you were there. So what was your experience? What activities, clubs, things like that that you participated in?
Well, to kind of expand on what you guys were saying, when you go into Tuskegee University, it's also all encompassed into, one like large area where, the buildings may be on one side of the street or other, but it's not like crossing major highways. Tuskegee is actually a really small town. And everyone who lives there either works there or in Auburn or in Montgomery. So, but coming in, I came freshman of late 90s, nothing big. And at the time, we didn't have any cable on campus. We didn't have any, there wasn't cell phones ubiquitously on campus like there are now. They weren't, everyone had to eat in the cafeteria. There weren't like cafes in every dorm and things like that. So it also just provided for a good sense of community as well, because we all had like one meeting space. Like you said, the fountain, we had like the yard, we called it, where you,
I feel like every HBCU has a yard.
a yard, yeah.
Is that-
Yes, and we definitely partied on our yard. But so my experience there was definitely like building an amazing community that we still keep in touch to this day. I was part of all the chemistry groups, I guess you can say. I was a lab teacher at one point, so I did a lot of that. I think I tried out for volleyball, but I don't think I made it because I remember playing volleyball. I was really good in high school. I feel like that was something I remember, but I think I took a PE class. You have to take PE, physical education as well.
In college?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't have to. No.
I didn't care about our physical.
They didn't. I did a volleyball as my elective thing. So
Okay.
I'm getting that confused with the team sports, so no. Yeah, went to class. I wasn't in like any debate team or sports. I just didn't make it. But football season. I mean, prep rallies, talent shows. Well, talent shows was all over year long. We had a lot of talent shows. We had a lot of like band. What do you call that? When they battle each other.
Battle of the Bands?
Battle of the Bands, yeah. We had a lot of those with our neighboring schools. There's another HBCU in Montgomery called Alabama A&M. And that's kind of our like rival school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have several friends that went to Alabama.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, that's how I think we call them the Turkey Day Classic. We play for Thanksgiving every year. Okay. So, that's
Did you live on campus?
I did up until my junior year. I moved off campus. And my senior year, I lived off campus. But I was an RA. My second semester of my junior year, I was an RA. The first semester, I did a study abroad. That's another great experience. Oh, an experience. Yeah, I should have never studied these questions. Tuskegee was really big into preparing their students for life after college. And so we had a lot of like internship opportunities. We had a lot of anything and everything you pretty much want to do, you had an avenue to do it. You just had to do a little work and try to figure out how that was going to make it happen. So now freshman year, I did a freshman internship at Georgia State University, and I was able to stay in it was called the Georgia Tech. It was called the Georgia State Village at that point, you know, where the Olympic people used to stay.
Yeah.
Now I think it's told to Georgia Tech, but you know, that was nice. I was like 19, living in Atlanta. A lot of my classmates came up with me, so that was an experience. I got to work in the lab at Georgia State in a microbiology lab, I think it was, and that was a great experience. And then the following year, what did I do the following year? Following year after that, I went to Zanzibar. I got an opportunity to do a study abroad program there through the international programs. And so we did, our program was called Coastal Ecology. And so Indian Ocean is where Zanzibar is. It's right off the coast of Tanzania. And so that reef right there is one of the largest coral reefs in the world. And so we were like with our underwater notebooks classifying the coral reefs and the types of fish. And then at the end of that experience last month, we were able to do an independent study and pretty much choose whatever you wanted to do. And I was really into health sciences at that point. So I did a month living in an SOS children's village, which is called Save Our Souls, an orphanage for children. And they have house mothers, and each house has like maybe 12 or 15 children that they live and are schooled in on that same village. They have a doctor there. And so I was investigating the evidence of skin disease among the children.
Oh, wow. So some great experiences. I feel like sometimes there's this false narrative that if you go to an HBCU, you won't get those type of experiences, the real world experiences. So, and as I've gotten older and talked to more people that have gone to HBCUs, they get just as the same experiences, if not maybe even more, because I hear so many that are able to get these different internships that turn into jobs right after college, and they are, you know, end up doing great things. So I'm always happy to hear stories of that HBCUs can provide just as much experience, real life experience, and prepare students for the real world as any other university can.
Yes, and even more sometimes, I think, because it gives you those experiences, but it also teaches you like financial management and like struggle and how to overcome like what may seem like insurmountable obstacles at the time, like financial aid, you know. Like I have to say
that was one of the reasons I kind of was like, I don't know about FAMU, because I had started hearing all these stories about financial aid there. There actually was a scandal a few years before I graduated from high school where people were actually stealing financial money from students. So that did kind of turn me off from going there a little bit. It should, when I look back, I feel like that shouldn't have been the deterrent, because actually I didn't get a lot of financial aid. Thankfully, my mom had already started preparing and paying for college, and then I had like Bright Future Scholarship, which is a Florida lottery system scholarship. So tuition and stuff was taken care of. It wouldn't have been a big issue, but I just remember hearing those stories. I'm like, what? Oh no, they're not gonna be taking my money.
They used to be standing in line for like days for like to fill out their financial aid.
But that happened at UCF too. I remember seeing financial aid lines. I don't know
that
about
first
any
year.
scandals, but I know people would be lined up. I filled out my paperwork and I'm like, I'm not standing.
Which is why I'm saying, like, it's no better. A PWI doesn't necessarily mean that it's better than an HBCU, but I think sometimes we said there can be that false narrative that it is, or people just assume, because we've been taught so long that white is right. And so we kind of buy into that. So I was going to ask you, did you have to take like an African American history or studies course? And if you didn't, how did that, was it just ingrained into the studies period?
Oh, no. We definitely had African American history. We had African history, African civilization history, had
Do you have to take those classes, or those just like offered as part
Those
of the
are
major?
offered as part of like an English major, or you could take it as an elective. Yeah, so we definitely have some very radical like teachers who taught those classes. I won't get into that,
But they weren't mandatory. None of those classes were mandatory as a part of going to the school.
no, the only thing that was mandatory was your freshman year, you had to do freshman orientation. And within that class, you had to read Up From Slavery. You had to read W.E. Du Bois' book. You had to read.
So that's what I was
Yeah.
trying to get to. So
Those were all mandatory.
okay.
First year.
Yeah.
And people usually got that done first semester.
So what about, I know we're harping on you, but what about any, like the diversity that was among the student population? Was
So that
it,
was very interesting because, at a historically Black school, 90% of the students will be Black, right? But we did have a handful of other races there, and they actually got minority scholarships for being there.
heard about that?
Right, and so that was interesting. So we had a few. So I guess out of a class of like 1,200, you might see like 10 or 12 white people. You might see an Asian. You might see. That's about it. We didn't have any. None that I can think of, except. We also had a lot of like students that were not, like 90% of our class were not from the South. It wasn't from Alabama. Most came from California or north from New York or Philadelphia or DC. So you had a very eclectic mix of what it meant to be Black as well. And so a lot of people would not really, I won't say, what do you call it when you define yourself? But I'll go by just Black, they'd be like, I'm Haitian, or I'm, Jamaican, or I'm, Filipino and Black, or something like that. So you had a lot of different mixes of races within the Black community, and also then you had the races outside the Black community, which got minorities.
Okay, awesome. So taking a step back to what I asked Tulani about her living on campus, Shantae and I also lived on campus. That's actually how we met, first day of freshman year. She was my roommate, and that's an interesting story there that we'll talk about another time. We were in like these old dormitories.
The original.
Old. And I think were they separated by gender? Like we had a whole building for girls versus boys, or was it just by room?
By room.
Right. So that was a good experience, at least for me, because that's my first time living away from home and just to be with strangers. But it was actually a good learning experience on how to kind of survive without your parents doing every single thing for you.
And how to get along with other people. It was 5 of us. We were in a suite. So 2 people shared a room. I had a roommate actually in the room. And then there was another room with 2. This one had her own room by herself.
Listen, I'm still paying off student loans, so I don't even want to hear nothing about that.
And we all had to share a bathroom, which, I was talking to someone the other day. I didn't realize this wasn't the normal. We had housekeeping that came and cleaned the bathroom and provided toilet paper. I think they provided that.
So who had to, for those dorms that you have one bathroom for a floor, you had to clean the bathroom?
Well, no, I was thinking about, we had housekeeping.
Yeah, just for the like the shared areas, right?
We had that setup that you're talking about.
Yeah.
We had like a whole row.
Yeah.
We had one floor, and the floor was divided by a common area in the middle. So this side had their bathroom, which accommodated maybe 12 girls, and that side had their, I think it's like 6 or 7 rooms, 2 to a room on each side. But we also, once you became a junior, you can move into the commons, they call them, which is what you guys are talking about, suites. We had like a 2-bedroom suite. So you had a bedroom.
See, we moved into, so what we stayed in wasn't the suites. We were at the bottom, right? But it just seemed like it was a better setup because there was another dorm that shared like what Tulani was talking about that we almost got if we didn't get into Academic Village, which was the fancy, like you can only apply for it after a certain year. And then that was, but we still had a housekeeping. But I'm like,
we didn't have housekeeping in those things. That was like strictly your own apartment.
I think
your own bathroom.
Yeah, everything on campus had housekeeping.
But only for the bathroom.
Yeah, just
Like
the
we
bathroom.
still had to do, we had a kitchen in that suite area. We had to clean up the kitchen. I don't remember anybody cleaning that.
No, not the stove. They swept, I think, and mopped. That was it.
Right.
Interesting.
So they did the bathrooms and mopped.
That's very interesting. No way.
No. I think they don't want people to get staph infections and MRSA and stuff like that. They just want to make sure that part is at least
not
clean.
worried about that.
No.
That's
So
how
you
build
really
character.
learn, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Like you have to learn how to survive out here.
I mean, that's a part of life. You gotta grow up. You gotta know how to defend for yourself and do for yourself. And also, like Ashanti said, you gotta learn how to work with people and figure out how that's gonna flow.
We had one laundromat on campus, and that was all the way at the bottom of the hill. And there was no like laundry, no dorms, not
One
even a
for the whole
campus.
campus.
So if you didn't know anybody with a car, they could take you to like up to the
Absolutely.
Walmart to wash your cherry to wash. You have to like.
Well,
We have to figure out how to get this big old hamper from your dorm to like 3 miles on the other side of
Where
campus.
did we wash clothes when we were in Lake Home?
on our level, the second, there
there
was
was
a laundry room.
So
It had
we
like
was-
2 or 3
We
machines.
was a change people. Like we had them quarters ready because that's the
Mhm.
only way you're gonna be able to wash. Okay.
And then when we went to Academic Village,
There
our
was one
sophomore year,
downstairs.
like one building over, that was like the big laundry room for the whole community.
But we had an in on that, so we hardly used that. 'Cause that's
Yeah.
your clothes will stink after they come out of there. I could not.
Is it?
Yes, I could. Ugh.
We were fortunate. My brother lived in Orlando, and so we would hop in Lori car, hit that 405, 407, 407,
408.
408. Oh,
That's the
highway
area
call.
code. 407 area
Yeah.
code, yes.
408 highway, hit the other side of town, and we would watch at his house. Thankfully, he
That's
let us
how I
do
learned
that.
about Tyler Perry and chicken. What's it called? Chicken coop.
Chicken coop.
That was our maybe
every
twice a
weekend?
month. I don't think it was every week.
Every other weekend.
Loved it. Okay,
Oh.
sorry. So
So then back to the other question. What were some activities you did when you were at UCL?
I went to class and I did join like the Caribbean Student Association, but I didn't do much in that group. I didn't really do like
I
Black
was part of
student union. You're part of that too?
And I was part of the Louisiana club.
Oh, see, there's like little things, but I didn't
Yeah.
do a lot of activity per se until I got into my major, which was radio television. So I spent a lot of my time, filming things, editing things. So that took up a lot of my time. I was part of the nightly news, working in the background and filming on location and being in the truck. So that was my focus.
That sounds fun.
I mean, I wish that's what college was. I understand you have to learn certain things, but I wish the curriculum was really all about your major.
Yeah.
Even if you had like an English class or because I had physics. If I had a physics class, but as it relates to something that I was actually interested in, I think it would make sense of how things were tailored.
At Tuskegee, they had us taking reading. Freshmen taking reading.
I don't like what
Reading. I mean, it was
just
like,
anything random, anything.
Do a book report?
that was portions of the class, but it was more like, increasing your vocabulary. So it was like, SAT words and like.
But you already passed that.
I know.
So that's why I'm like, sometimes I'll be like,
PE,
I kind of feel like
why?
it is like money making at a
It
certain
is,
point.
right.
But there is a lot that you gain from that time that you're there. There is stuff that you gain from some other of these classes that you probably didn't think was really in relation to what you're doing. I just wish it was tailored that way. Like I wish it was intentional.
Yeah.
So that people would feel like I'm going here. Those first 2 years is not a waste. I have to wait for another 2 years just to
I
get
can
into
think
my
of
major.
a lot of classes that I would not have taken if I had a choice.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't care about that's just not.
Okay.
It was a lot of wasted time.
I think so too. I
I think you
agree
could
with
probably finish college in 2 years.
that. I think so too.
Yeah, right.
You weren't just
Because the first
taking
2 years, you really are retaking
Yeah.
classes you took in high school. History,
Mhm.
English,
Chem
science.
one,
Yeah, those I just took those. I just graduated, so I
Right.
passed.
Right.
So why do I need to take it over again?
I'm learning about the cell all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But what about you?
Oh, I didn't do much.
Okay.
I was what all that? I was part of the Black Student Union that we had on campus. I was a part of Gold Team, and it was related to the football program. So we basically would help recruit football players, the high school football players. Why are you
You know
using
what that
air
means?
quotes?
Help recruit.
We would show them around campus, tell them about student life, talk to parents or whatever. It was all about just convincing them to come to UCF and get a good education. That's it. That's all I did. So, but I've been big into sports. I always loved football. So I just thought it was a great way to be involved with the program. You weren't like involved with players or anything like that, but like you're on campus, you get to know players and things. So, but it was really just like a nice way. I mean, honestly, yeah, it was being eye candy to try to recruit
Hello. Now she telling the
young
truth.
these young guys to show
Over here
them
with
like
this Taylor Hanson.
what you can get. But it still was about, okay, here's college life, here's what to expect, and things like that.
I wonder if they still have the Gold Team in 2020. I mean, not pandemic, but I mean, just in this day and age, this Me Too age where they're basically just like, look at these pretty girls. Are you want to come here?
But I think they still do, because we actually, although it was mainly women that did it, we did have a guy that was on the Gold Team at one point. So it was open to everyone and anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
At one point.
Yeah, and more men came since I stopped being involved.
I did want to ask y'all guys a question. What was it like being at a PWI and a Black student, what was that called? Black Student Union? Yeah. Because you know that they don't have that at HBCU.
Yes, they don't either.
It's black. Oh, so like a black student. I thought it was like all the Black students come together.
Yes,
like
that's what it was.
unionized.
That's what it was.
But y'all have like government and everything.
No.
It's like a club.
Yeah, club, so that you know,
Like,
we
I would
get
go to those
like-minded people.
Yeah.
So like Black History Month, right? We will put on some kind of program and have things for Black History Month.
And what was the quota of Black people? Like, what was the demographic?
I think it was usually around
20.
no, not that
More?
high.
I thought it was like at least
For
20%.
Black?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it was probably more like 12% for
Okay.
Black.
Okay.
Yeah. But you know, honestly, and we went to our university, it was pretty big, right? At one point it was 50,000, I think one of the largest number of students in the country. But I always saw Black people.
All the time.
So it wasn't like I always felt like I was the only person.
I think you just find your people.
Yeah.
It's like you'd be like, I know you right there, and somehow it was like at the same time they would always go. Maybe that was on purpose. Like they had a time that you go to the student union
that
Wednesday, but I just felt like I always saw people gathered, with each other. You know, so
yeah. So like you said,
you see that perspective from TV.
So as you mentioned, you have the yard at HBCU. So we had a student union, and I don't know when it started, but every Wednesday, that was kind of where right at noon, all Black people kind of was in there. People didn't even go to the school and be on campus hanging out.
It's Black people day. Let's go.
Let's go. Then we gonna walk because it's a free campus.
Yeah.
People just walk right on, and it would be people. There would be a DJ, music playing. A lot of the
like
fraternities and sororities would have their
tables out.
mhm.
They'd be doing
Or
stuff.
they'll be coming out with their new line. Thank you. Yeah, their new line, things like that. So. So yeah, so I never felt like, oh my gosh, I'm just the only Black person. Whatever. It was always Black people around in my classes. And like Lori said, you find your people. So I've always had different groups of friends within at UCL. I'm still in contact with a number of them now. So I enjoyed my experience. I definitely sometimes was like, man, I wish I went to a HBCU and maybe just went to a PWI for my master's or something. But you know, I wouldn't be where I am now. Wouldn't have met Lori if I didn't go. You know, so it's just kind of like that's how life is. You make your choices, and it all
Have
works.
y'all either one of y'all experienced a situation when people just think about you find your people when you thought someone might have been your people because they looked like you, but then realized that they didn't really want to be part of the Black Student Union. They wanted to be in that world. Was it divided like that?
No, I don't
Or
know
did
that.
they feel?
And not
pressured?
everybody was in the Black Student Union. Like it's just, you know, one club. If you wanted to join, you can join and do
I
things.
know y'all wouldn't be
joined.
like
I just
looking
went
at
to the activity.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you didn't get the stink eye like, too glad why she not in
No,
there.
I never felt
Mhm.
anything like that at UCF. I don't remember feeling, even from white people,
Alienated.
or it just felt like a whole bunch of students coming together. I think they were trying to make that area like a student town, like how UF is, because it's so big. So you would see UCF stuff everywhere. Like you go down the street to a restaurant, you see nothing but UCF students in there. It was just like a big community. I don't remember ever feeling anything like that.
I guess as y'all talking, I can't get dear white people out my head. And so I'm just
No,
thinking
it's
about
nothing
like
like
that
that.
situation.
Maybe there are some schools that are like that, but I didn't experience that at UCF. Even with, and maybe the size of it, like if it's a smaller university, that might be different. But and we were, I guess you can say it was considered a commuter school. So a lot of people drove just to have classes and they were home. But like the student body that stayed on campus or just who you saw around campus, it was fine. I don't remember hearing no kind of incidents like racial incidents that happening on campus.
Nothing. I don't remember that at all.
Mhm.
I just remember people being excited to be there. And the reason why I say that is because UCF was one of those schools I think that accepted almost everybody. I think that's how they got so big, is that they were willing to take your money no matter what. It wasn't like they're taking the bottom of the barrel, but I think a lot of those people, like you said, you probably wanted to go somewhere else. Somebody else wanted to go somewhere else. So this was like a secondary. I made it to college. I'm so excited to be here. That's how my thought process was. Anybody that I encountered, at least the first
And
2
this
years.
current climate, do you guys think it's the same way? Because I know, just speaking for Tuskegee University, they're using, and a lot of other HBCUs during this, Black Lives Matter movement and, Me Too and all that. A lot of like the groundswelling movements are starting.
I'm sure it's totally different now. That stuff wasn't happening on this kind of scale.
Right.
It was like if something happened to you, it happened to you. It's
Right.
not like on the news every day. It's not a topic of conversation
Right.
that you have to bring up in front of the class or a topic of,
Right.
I don't think a lot of places was probably dealing with that at that time. So
It'd be interesting to see.
I'm sure it's different, but that school is a different school than what we went to.
Oh, totally. And no telling what they could be doing. I can speak like the university I work for now, since the whole Black Lives Movement, they have actually been trying and doing things. They gave out shirts that says like Black Lives Matter to like everyone. There's different events and things like that they're always having to try to do, I don't know, educate people. The whole allyship, how to be anti-racist, that's what the term is, doing workshops, things like that. So I would hope a school of, say, like UCF, as big as this, is doing
I'm sure
things
they
just as similar. But I can actually see it because my university is much smaller, and I can actually see what they're trying to do and the things that
They are, because I still get the alumni newspapers, thanks to Ashante, who gave me that as my graduation gift. But I still get it, and I can see different things. They have stories about that. They show what students are doing on campus. I still read through them. Oh yeah, I read through them. So I do feel like it's a culture shift in the world than what we had before. More like, I think, and I've always thought about this, in the 90s, there was like this Black liberation that I remember, that people wanted to do their own. It was like Black people were doing just as well as white people, and I didn't feel like there was like this clash, like how I'm feeling like it is now. And maybe it was always an underbelly or undertone, but it wasn't this like forefront, like we don't want to get killed no more. It was more like, all right, everything is going well, so we're not gonna talk about the bad because we're actually excelling in life and we don't have to worry
And
about
I think
that.
they always came across like they were isolated incidents, right? Where now
That's
we
true.
realize it's not isolated.
Right.
These things are happening almost, it seemed like every day. And so, and
That's true.
technology, right? That's also been a big part of this, is being able to view it and see
And
it.
have access to it around the world. It's
Yes.
not just like in your town, you know this is happening,
Mhm.
but the other town doesn't understand it's happening. We realize it's like everywhere.
Yeah.
Right, everyone has a camera or a
Yep.
video camera in their hand these days, so everything is accessible. So I guess the question is, has it increased or is it now just more?
I wonder that too.
More aware?
I wonder that too. I don't know if we can ever figure that out.
I
But
I don't think it increased. I think it's just more access, because I think we kind of get off topic. But just thinking back to early 90s, Rodney King, it was on tape there. Like, so it's always been there. It's just, I think the access is just now in our palm of our hand, and it can spread. The internet,
So
right?
quick.
The internet can go so fast. So, okay, transitioning back to our main topic, I wanted to ask about your experience with like homecomings. So HBCU homecomings are always been like known to be big grand things. How was homecoming, your experience with Tuskegee?
Just as you said, big grand thing. We used to have umpteen prep rallies leading up to homecoming, battle of the bands leading up to homecoming. You know, dance, piperettes. They used to like, that was our dance team.
Okay.
The girls, the dance behind the band or in front of the band. Parades up and down the avenue. The step shows came out during homecoming, which were, all the different fraternities and sororities getting together and competing against each other. So it was at least, if the game was on a Sunday, then 3 weeks prior to that Sunday, it would
started.
You had to get your tickets. You had to make sure you had 10 other tickets that your friends was coming in town. You had to buy your outfits. You had to buy at least 10 of them because right? You gotta be on the
Using
yard.
that financial aid money to come buy outfits to get ready.
Right.
that's something different I see with HBCUs too. And maybe this did happen at UCF, but it just wasn't our culture. But just to see like life after you graduate, or the community of people that come back during homecoming and loves to like build into the school with their alumni program.
That was another thing. You got to see graduates that you hadn't seen maybe when I was a freshman and they graduated as a senior. They would always come back every year, and you would always have to show up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to get a good spot in the stands because everything was like first come, first served. And you only sat on this side of the stands, so that was the Tuskegee side. You couldn't sit on the opposite side. And then the band would come down, they would come down this hill. And before they came down the hill, the whole stands would be erupted, be like, where's the band? Where's the band? Where's the band? All right. And so they would hear the band coming from across the street with their big old things. It's still amazing.
Do you still go to homecoming?
Yeah, last time I went maybe was 2 years ago. I didn't go last year, of course, because of the pandemic, and maybe not the year before because I think I wasn't in town. But I don't think I've missed maybe 3 since you brought me. And I can say that about like every one of my friends, except my friend Sharika. She went once and she's never going again. But again, she grew up around. She's from Montgomery, right? Birmingham. So she knew a lot more about it. And she had parents that went to Tuskegee, so she's been to homecoming since she was a baby. Okay. And that's another thing. Like a lot of parents, a lot of children who go to Tuskegee, parents who graduated from Tuskegee or have family there, and so they've been knowing about Tuskegee homecoming since they were a baby. Everyone brings their kids up there, and there's a big field where people grill out, and you could just jump from like tent to tent to tent, eating like whatever you want.
Yeah, I don't really experience that.
I think white people did that. Because there was homecoming.
There's homecoming and then
But-
people come
And people come, but I don't think it was our people.
3 years ago, I think they started trying to build up for the Black alumni to come back and be involved in homecoming and kind of making it our own. I think it went well. I knew of one person I think that went, and they said it turned out it was a good crowd, but not a whole lot of people. I was looking forward to maybe going back one day. Actually last year, I was thinking like I would go and COVID. So I'm hoping at one point that maybe that group will continue to try to get Black alumni together and have some events and maybe get to go experience that.
The biggest thing about homecoming is like the rivalries that we have with the university. I think Miles may have been one of our big rivalries, but they're all also HBCUs as well. So like homecoming is, not homecoming, halftime shows are like
So we know
ridiculous.
this because in Orlando you have, what's the classic called?
The classic will be
Oh,
between
something.
the Florida Classic.
The Florida
It
Classic.
would be between FAMU and Bethune-Cookman University now.
She got me going to this. I was like, what is this?
We
Because
love
I
it.
didn't grow up with that kind of stuff.
I never been to.
But you
lived
were
in Orlando.
Oh,
I always heard about it, but I never been. Oh,
I've been going to the Bayou Classic since I was like 10 or 11.
See,
and Bayou Classic is in New Orleans. I'm from New Orleans. I don't know if I told you guys that.
You can't hear it.
It came out there when she said it.
But that's between Grambling and Southern. So those are also two HBCUs that they have been having this Bayou Classic for like the last 50 years or something like that. So
Long time. Used to come on like BET, I think, or something like that.
Zero.
I know that's when I got to Tuskegee, and it was just the same energy and the same competition, the same rivalries. Like the whole HBCU network is just a really tight network.
So would you want your children or nieces and nephews to go follow your footsteps and go to a HBCU or go to Tuskegee University?
Well, I definitely want them to be able to, make their own decisions. I feel like, it's all dependent on like what you want. If you're like more like career orientated, like what Lori was saying earlier, you just want to go and you want to focus on just, accounting, and that's all you want to do because you already know you're going to be a CPA in 2 years, right? Then maybe, maybe not. Maybe you want to go to a more, school that's not really based on like, developing your like ideas and like character and, things like that. Because as you said, like the first year or so, it might have changed. It's just my experience. You're really taking core classes, what they call them, you know what I mean? Which is, and even if you undecided or decided major, you have to take the same classes, right? Like, that helps you get to know your classmates, of course. That helps you get to know, what I'm saying, like that. But it just depends on the type of child you are. I think maybe I got hope for the boys, the 3 girls. I'm like,
Come on, nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
I have another question. So UCL again being a big university, some of the classrooms were like those big lecture halls where you were just a number.
Yeah.
I love that.
You love that. But with Tuskegee, you were much smaller, right?
Yeah.
Like how many people would you say would be?
When I was going to Tuskegee, you probably had 30 tops in your class, maybe 25. If it was a science class, you might have had 20. Okay. And then the higher you get up, unfortunately,
smaller because you're in a major, right? It's not as many
Makes
people.
sense. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, now I'm really bit like all the math classes, the science, it would just be an auditorium filled with people.
I got to
Sneak in and
experience
sneak
that.
out.
Right. I got to experience that when I did some a couple of my internships. And I was telling you guys about that earlier, especially the ones that do just state. When we did take classes and go into labs, and everybody was like, "What is that?" Like, can I raise my hand in here? Like, how do you get somebody's attention? So yeah, that was a culture shock. Everybody came up with me who hadn't seen that before, but no, all our classes were, and I think it's designed that way. A lot of them are, just because in nature it's like a small school. Y'all say y'all had like 50,000 I think Tuskegee had 5,000 maybe, and that's across, freshman to senior. So yeah, so you get a lot of one-on-one time with your professors. You get a lot of one-on-one time with any teachers' aides that might be in the classroom. There's always like office hours that, you don't even really have to plan office hours. You can just show up, the professor's there. And
I think the same for us. I think some of our professors had like
They have
office
office hours.
Yeah. I don't remember ever utilizing that.
I had 2 for 1 class.
And so like other than this one class that I think I was about to fail. So I was like, hey,
no.
how you doing? I
Remember the space.
Like way up there. Yeah. I need some extra credit. All right. But yeah, I guess that helps build your relationships with those teachers too, because I can't tell you other than like when I got into my major, any of those teachers. Mm-hmm. I didn't build any of it. I was just let me pass it, let me get out. So okay.
Makes sense. So students who might need like extra help and extra like time, things like that. That's definitely available and provided by smaller colleges and also HBCUs. So that's definitely a benefit, I believe.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of benefits to going to HBCU. It's pros and cons to everything, right? Mm-hmm. So, but for any viewers out there, especially anybody that say they're in their junior year of high school, get ready to look into college, be open, look into all your options. So HBCUs as well as PWIs, and choose what makes the most sense for you.
Apply to many, because maybe also in their offer letters back to your acceptance letter, they'll give you more information that you would need to make a determination of who you want to actually select. So
if you select the HBCU, you'll have a family for life. Let me tell you that.
You will too at a PWI. You want family right here.
Get more.
Listen, but whatever your choice is, we will support you, whatever you do. And for those that may not be looking to going to college, going to vocational school has become more popular again now. Do what's best for you. Yeah. So again, we want to congratulate all of the recent graduates. Congratulations. Special shout out to Stephanie Brown.
Congratulations.
Who's graduating this weekend from law school from American University. We are proud of you. Before we leave, like we always do, we want to celebrate Black excellence, and we always have a Queen of the Week. And so this week, our Queen of the Week is Miss Tulani. We'll put a crown. So we just want to name you our Queen of the Week. We're proud to see you, as we see a very educated Black woman who's doing her thing. And so we are always celebrating our queens and kings. And their Black excellence. So all our queens and kings who are graduating, again, congratulations. Before you leave though, be sure to subscribe, share, and like the videos. And as always, we want to remind you to do what? Protect your throne. Bye.